Hey. So, for the potential one or two viewers that are going to watch us over the next hour or so, I'd like to welcome you to our new Wrestling Weekly show called Holla, If You Hear Me, where we'll be breaking down the latest SmackDown and Raw programs and also the hottest takes from the wrestling world this week. I'd like to introduce myself. My name is Fraz. I'm joined by Andi and Dirty Dave. How are you doing, gents?
All good, buddy. All good.
All good, sir. All good.
Yeah. So we're going to dive straight into SmackDown, which was obviously on Friday. The episode opened with Dave's greatest wrestler of all time, Mr. John Cena. The self-proclaimed last real champion is interrupted by Randall Keith Orton and basically says that Cena has a void that he needs to fill due to not having kids. Cena loses the plot. I think he calls the crowd a hypocrite and essentially gets flipped off by a kid because he calls the dad a loser. And then Orton challenges Seaman to a title match. Seaman says no, let's do it at Lash Whip. And, well, we are going to have a nostalgic rematch for the times. Cena, Orton. What are we thinking, boys? Are we liking that?
I'll field the first one. Not that fussed about it, to be honest. It was inevitable. It was inevitably going to be Orton at some point during this run. But if you go back and look at all of their matches, they've had something like 30-odd televised matches in the last 20-odd years. There's about 4 that are any good. All the rest are plodding, rest holds, headlocks, snore. And it's just like, okay, fair enough. The roles are reversed. It's interesting. Cena face, Cena heel and Randy face. It's a different dynamic, but gives a fuck.
I don't know. I disagree. I think it's going to be phenomenal. I think they've had some amazing matches, and I think actually they're a victim of their feuds not being over major pay-per-views. They've always been on, filler pay-per-views. They haven't had the chance to do a Mania. I know, and this is the same situation because it's not a major pay-per-view, but it is Backlash. It is Orton's hometown. Backlash over the last few years have been awesome. They've been going abroad. I know this one's in St. Louis, but I think you've got to come off Mania and you've got to have something big. They've given us some amazing moments in their matches. I mean, one of the best was when Randy Orton slapped the referee to get
straight away
to get disqualified. Something you could see Cena do that now.
Yeah,
ruin wrestling. You talk about a Goldberg Lesnar 30-second match. You could just walk up to the ref and slap him, and total payback for Randy Orton in his hometown. And it's like, what? Now, of course, that wouldn't happen. There'd be a riot because the match wouldn't happen. But you can have a match without it being a match. That could be a huge brawl. There's loads of stuff you can do. So no, I think it's got tons of potential. Orton has got something to prove.
I think for Cena it counts as one of his dates as well, doesn't it? Well,
it counts
27 or whatever he's left. So.
Yeah,
26.
26. I beg your pardon. Yeah,
counts as one of his dates. But Orton's a long time since he's had a really good match. Obviously, because he's been injured. Before that, he was in tag matches for a while. But I think he's going to want to have a really good match in his hometown at Backlash. I just think that he's going to want a defining match with Cena because it's the last time that they're probably going to do it. And it depends what it depends. As long as they're telling a story, I don't mind. I don't mind, rest holds. I don't mind seeing actual wrestling, as long as the story fits it. I mean, we'll talk about some other matches later, but there's some other matches specifically for Mania that they didn't tell the story that they needed to tell. But I think these two can tell their story.
They certainly can, David. They certainly can. I still think that Cena is going to drop the title to Cody Rhodes.
Yeah, but So I agree in part with what they were saying. I agree in part. There is potential there. And I think the nature of the way that they've booked the towns has kind of got in the way of this. I wouldn't have put Cena and Orton as the first defense. That should have been built. This is a rivalry that's been 20 odd years in the making. Why not have it be the blow off, the last one, or the last one but one? If you know what I mean, like if you're going to have Cody come back at, I don't know, Survivor Series and beat Cena for the title to regain it, have Randy be the one you beat at Unforgiven, for lack of a better term. But do you know what I mean? Like it's literally just a case of the fact that they've got St. Louis booked for Backlash and they're like, oh, we need to sell tickets. We need to put bum in seats. Let's get Randy on the card and have him face Cena for it. They could have done this in August, September, and it would have been better.
Yeah, but you can put Randy could be in the opening match, in your hometown. It doesn't matter. And WWE over the years have been far more negative to people in their hometowns and made them lose to get cheap heat. I mean, you go back to Calgary Stampede is probably the last time someone actually decently won in their hometown. Yeah. And went over to make the pay-per-view. They actually tend to go for the reverse. I think Orton could be fighting anybody, but I think this is a staple to say that they're going to make big strides at each PLE to make the PLEs more important. So they're all must watch. With the big ones going to 2 nights now, I think I see this big focus. Certainly last year and the year before. Well, I don't know if it's a Triple H thing. I don't know if it's a WWE thing, UFC thing, whoever, TKO. But I'm loving how they build to the main event at each PLE, and each PLE has got a big main event. Doesn't always have to have a huge story. I know people moaned about WrestleMania, lots of stories, but WrestleMania 17, best WrestleMania ever. Half of that card only had a 3-week build to it. So it can be done if you do it right. The question is if they do it right or not. And again, it comes back to you can tell a story in 3 minutes on TV, as Goldust always used to say, but you've got to tell the right story. And if you've got the right people telling the right story, it'll work. So I think I see what you're saying, and I totally get that it could go wrong. I just don't think 2 guys with 25 years experience who can get in the ring and call an entire match without even having to talk to each other
on the fly.
Just can't see it going wrong.
Yeah, well, that's true. I mean, the match is going to be good, isn't it? But for me, I mean, I'm a casual fan, and hearing Randy's reason why John Cena has turned heel or lost his way because he hasn't got kids was dog shit. But then you guys were saying that apparently Cena and his wife came out and said they don't want kids, so Randy's caught wind of that off Twitter or wherever, and then decided to bring that into the promo.
Well, look, yeah, which I think was the point. It's like the casual fan wouldn't know that. So yeah, you'd think, what's that all about? But then you'd probably think that Cena's reaction to it, he went, oh, why did he go so OTT about it? So clearly it did hit a point because Cena then went in, nuts, didn't he? And got all funny with the crowd and all that.
I am your father, yeah. He done a bit of a Darth Vader, didn't he?
So yeah, it definitely hit a point. And that's just Randy reminding him how personal Randy can get. I mean, Randy slapped his dad. He went to Triple H's house before.
Didn't he?
Randy can get pretty intense. Well, even Rated RKO did some stuff with Cena and Cena's dad back in 2007. So that's just Randy saying, I'll go as low as you want to go, mate. Even though you're a baddie now and I'm a goodie, I'm still Randy Orton.
I will preface the build to this pay-per-view match, or PLE match, I should say, by saying I hope Cena stands tall at the end of one of these exchanges, because it really got on my nerves how Cody stood tall during every exchange. Randy needs to eat shit, like at least once.
In what sense do you mean? Like
on every
physical
exchange,
altercation?
Yeah. So every exchange, so Cena obviously cooked Cody for the most part on the mic each week, but Roddy Codes stood tall at the end of each week by hitting crossroads on Cena, and Cena's laying prone, and it's just like, if you I always think back to what I learned as a youngster. The maths about wrestling is if you're standing tall on the go home show, you're probably going to lose the match.
Yeah,
and that was
always,
it's always been the case. If you have back and forth, it throws in some who knows. So I'm hoping in the next few weeks, because obviously it's only a 3-week build now. I think hopefully Cena can stand tall on the go home and then beat Randy. Like he needs to have at least one where he doesn't look like a fucking moron.
Yeah, he needs to get the upper
moron.
hand in some way, shape, or form. I mean, the question is how many dates. Is Cena going to be on every Raw in the build up to the show? There's ways that it can be done. I remember No Way Out 2003, Rock versus Hogan. Rock wasn't available until the match, so he was doing stuff via satellite, and he absolutely, he's roasting Hogan. Absolutely roasted him. So there's things Cena could do there. Cena could go to Orton's house in a pre-recorded comment and stalk Orton's wife and kid. There's so many stuff that you can do where he gets the upper hand.
And he's like, who wouldn't stalk?
Who fucking wouldn't? Randy's delightful.
We'd probably rather stalk Randy Orton, but especially in those WrestleMania pants, bless him. But so there's so many different ways to do it. In some ways I don't want him to touch. In some ways I actually kind of think the classic Vince McMahon, no physicality before the match, or you'll be stripped of the title and you'll be suspended type thing. I wouldn't even mind that now, because I actually don't want them to touch until Backlash, because that subtle dig about not having kids, like I say, I think that's Randy just reminding him how low he can go, and I want that. I want that tension build. I don't want to see him do stuff in the build up, because I want it to hold.
Well, that's fair enough. I mean, I just thought it was a bit lame, really. I did like Cena on the mic. I thought he was great. I like how he called the fans hypocrites, and he's been the baby daddy for their kids for 25 years. But we'll have to see. It was like the second exchange. There was an RKO, wasn't there, on Raw the week before? And we've had this one.
Or that week, the RKO out of nowhere.
We'll see what happens on SmackDown. Yeah.
The last real world shit.
So let's move on with the show. I've got first match being one of my favourite tag teams on WWE 2K25 on my GM mode. Fraz versus Los Garza. High flying match, good pace to it. Nathan Fraser looked incredible. He's so quick. And it's good that they debuted on SmackDown now, got off NXT. The tag team division is looking solid as Mark Henry. I mean, seriously good. They're really building that division. And it's, me and Dave are 40 odd. We watched wrestling for a long time, and tag teams were the shit back in the day. It's lost that now, and obviously New Age Outlaws being my favorite tag team, I've got love for that, so I've got plenty of time. Hopefully they will do something. Los Garza, just bottom feeders, isn't they?
I agree with you that these things tend to go in cycles. The mid to late 80s, the tag teams were amazing, sort of dropped off a bit at the mid 90s, but then we picked back up again with the Attitude Era, and post that, Edge and Christian and the Hardys and the Dudleys, and then it did go a bit blank. Teams got together, won the tag titles, split up, and then got released. There was a big spell of that, like the Hart Dynasty and Deuce and Domino, because they were great. But he's definitely building the division. The thing, I just worry that they don't get over. I struggle with Los Garza. I think they're incredible, but he's been trying now for a year, and they just don't get a reaction. But there's plenty of teams out there. We mix more teams up. It should only create more fun. But that's my only danger. A lot of tag teams have come in recently. I just don't want them to put the titles on people too quickly, and then nothing happens with them, because that's a staple of the last sort of 10 years, really.
Well, me and Hogman were talking about Pretty Deadly, weren't we?
Mm.
You know what happened there. I said to Andy last night, I'm pretty sure they won a number one contenders match, and they weren't in that TLC, or they haven't had that. They haven't had that title match.
They haven't had it yet, and I don't think we've seen Pretty Deadly the musical yet either, which I'm waiting for. I thought that was going to be at WrestleMania. They probably should have been hosts of WrestleMania, and they should have done Pretty Deadly the musical on like night one. Would have been.
So I've just had a look online quickly, just a straightforward Google, because I was pretty sure. I wasn't sure if they had or not, but the only way I could have thought that they would have got around Pretty Deadly being part of what happened later on in the show was if one of them was injured. But according to Google, there is no injury to either man. Why not do a 4-team TLC? Solves every issue, gets them on the show as they should have been. But going to your points about there being so many tag teams and whether Fraxium just get lost in the shuffle, it is post WrestleMania. What normally happens around about Backlash time, is the shake-up. Now, when you consider how much talent and how many tag teams they've got on SmackDown, you've got Fraxium, Los Garza, all the three in the other match, and Pretty Deadly. You've got to think at least, and then you compare that to Raw, which has quite literally got Judgment Day, New Day, and the Viking losers, right?
Yeah.
That's it. And Creed Brothers as well. A-Town Down Under.
Yeah, but they're not going to be winning any titles.
No, they're going to break
you could move at least one of those titles. I'd probably move DIY over to Raw.
I don't know. I love DIY. They're just not over.
I love Ciampa without his beard, though. Ciampa without the beard is absolutely incredible. He looks hard as fucking nails, mate.
Well, I really love them.
The guns are DOA. The guns are dead on arrival, mate. The Mercy Machine Guns, they're awesome in the ring. Fantastic wrestlers, but no reaction at all. Nobody cares.
They've got shit theme music. That's
Well, that's how it's half the roster.
Hasn't everyone?
Well, possibly, but I mean, bang, bang.
Yeah, I mean, at least DIY got their music changed because that was... The one they were using last year was dreadful.
Yeah, well, I should just be using "No One Will Survive," the Ciampa theme.
Yeah, well,
will survive. That was the best one.
Okay, well, moving on. Another fan of David, Tiffany. Yeah. Oh, sorry, David loves her. Yeah. Tiffany Stratton cuts this promo that. It's pretty good. She says she's not the next Charlotte Flair. She is the first and only Tiffany Stratton. But then, what happens? Jade Mangill comes out and interrupts and basically applauds her for the victory. But she's got a big target on her back now, which is obviously going to lead to some sort of, I'd imagine, a future title match between the two. But they have an impromptu match. But the match is cut short because Naomi comes out and reignites the feud, which I thought was a little bit strange. Maybe a bit of lacking creativity there. She beat Naomi comfortably at Mania. And then Tiffy tried to help Jade, but then we have the return of Nia Jax as well, who comes in, absolutely destroys her. And although she is dog in the ring and hurts a lot of people, she still really didn't come on, mate. She still really didn't get a fair crack at Tiffy, did she?
Not in terms of a rematch, no. But
no, not in terms of a rematch.
No one wants to see it anyway.
I thought it was. I think it's interesting. Naomi and Nia are aligned a little bit. I mean, it could go female bloodline way, or it could just be, well, common enemies, and turn into a bit of a tag match, and it's a way to get 4 women involved in an angle instead of 2. But it could be a seed for, the female bloodline. You never know.
I think we can pump the brakes a little bit, perhaps, on the female bloodline. I think there's only one major faction-related female story at the moment, and that's who's going to be in the Vision or whatever they're called, the Seth Rollins group. I don't think Hunter's that worried about factions when it comes to women. Like if you look back through history, they've had even NXT, when he was booking NXT, there was maybe one, the BFFs, and that was Summer Rae, Sasha Banks and Charlotte, and that lasted for about a month and a half. But I don't think he likes factions for girls.
You've got a PLE female only pay-per-view.
But you can get them all on there quite easily. You can get every woman on there.
Yeah, but it's getting them out. You can. Yeah, well, yeah, of course we can. We can put whoever we want on whatever show we want. But if no one cares because they're not in an angle, or if they're not built into something worth watching, then no one's going to watch it, are they? There's no. You can. I mean, like 30 women Royal Rumbles. Yeah, they're okay, but we sit there and say the same thing about the blokes as well. The music's rubbish. No one knows who's coming out. Everybody looks the same. No one's in any angles. They fight each other. They start something at the Rumble, but then nothing ever picks up. You can't do that if you're going to do a PLE. You know, you're going to have to build these people. And why not do something big and revolutionary, ready for a big payoff at that event? Because, you know, two women's title matches are not going to sell that PLE. They're just not. They're going to need something big. And you've got a few months now. 4 months for it? So, again, I'm all for a bit. You know, he likes slow building, so we've got 4 months. Why not? Doesn't have to be something that runs for 10 years. You know, but you could have Tamina could be like the enforcer type one who doesn't really wrestle, but she's like the bodyguardy type one. And you've got a little trifecta. It doesn't have to be a huge group, but that's just like a bloodline trifecta, a female one. Don't know. You know, I totally get your point. It hasn't been done, but doesn't mean it can't be done.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
And you need stories that don't involve the titles. The women have to be more involved, and they have to be.
So what are we saying? Are we liking the fact that Naomi and Mangill are going to continue the feud, and Nia Jax is the correct opponent to face Tiffy?
But you can mix them up, can't you? Because Nia can fight Jade, and Naomi can obviously fight. So you can mix the four up. You can have a handicap.
You've also got Fraz's favourite. You've also got Fraz's favourite to come back as well into that situation. Candice LeRae. No, Candice LeRae.
Oh right, yeah, okay.
You know, there's. Yeah, I mean, I think we'll see what happens. It's still early days. I'm still not convinced it's all Naomi that was behind the Mangill attack.
Bianca's got to get hers eventually, I think.
Yeah, I still think Bianca's involved somewhere. You know, again, it doesn't need to be necessarily completely bloodline, but it could be Bianca, Naomi, and Jax, and give Tamina a final payoff before she goes, and she can be their enforcer, and that can just be, you know, that way you're looking at three heels, 3 faces, build that feud over a few months, and that's a big PLE match for a woman's.
I've just thought of a very well, it's a non-PC name for that group, but it's up to you if you want me to say it. The Minority Sorority.
Yeah.
Fair play. Swiftly moving on.
I suppose it's better than the bloodline.
Swiftly moving on.
Or the menstrual bloodline.
The minstrel bloodline.
Whoa, okay.
Menstruating bloodline? I don't know. We'll come up with
okay, so we all know I have mad love for the next gentleman who enters the ring at some point. But Jacob Fatu and Solo Sikoa come down celebrating Jacob's immense victory at Mania. Solo turns around and says that it's all because of him, which you knew it's coming. That obviously they've been building to this feud between the two, and Jacob's going to turn face. But was interrupted by my best mate, LA Knight, or LA Dog Shit. Yeah. Demands a rematch, wants it immediately, but then the Messiah, the man who never wins feuds, comes out, Drew McIntyre, and basically says, LA Knight, your title reign was dog shit, completely buries him. Another legend, Nick Aldis, says, let's have a match, number one contender. So these two gentlemen have a match later in the night. But before that match, I'm going to hand it over to Andi because I heard a little rumour that you quite fancy this lady, Zelina Vega versus Chelsea Green.
Oh,
I am a fan of Zelina Vega, and I'm a fan of her, most definitely.
Kath, he admires her.
She's a lovely lady. They're both experts at their craft, absolutely. Zelina Vega has an OnlyFans. I'll say no more about that. But I'm sure if you want to go and find out that information, you're more than welcome to. Don't take it from me.
Is Alistair on there as well?
Alice, so this is what I was going to ask you guys, because obviously me being a cash and you guys being the expertise, is the only reason Zelina Vega wins this match is because Alistair Blick is back?
I don't think so. I think there's something going on with Chelsea Green.
Really?
Yeah.
Because of woo woo woo.
No, she's actually posted some sort of "I'll be back" sort of thing. She's going away for a bit, I think.
Yeah, I just think
could be visa related. Like literally, could be something stupid as being visa related.
She didn't really do. What did she do at Elimination Chamber?
Nothing.
In like her home country, with the US title. I mean, I'm not being funny. Canadian US champ in Toronto could have been an amazing pop, bit of fun. Doesn't have to be a 20-minute match. Trish Stratus used to go out there and be able to do something for 5 minutes. It doesn't need to be War and Peace. But yeah, I thought that was a bit weird. Obviously, they spent last year building the IC and US Women's Championships. US champ wasn't on WrestleMania at all in any way, shape, or form. All right, the Continental was in a tag match. Yeah, weird. So not sure. Maybe the US title was given to her as a sweetener to keep her to stay. Maybe she's going. Maybe it's a visa thing. Maybe who knows? But I think Zelina Vega is awesome. She's been around long enough. She deserves it. She's come so close so many times. Got no problems with her winning. I'd probably just think it's more Chelsea Green related.
Or
wrong.
I'm being a cynic here, but maybe it's a little bit of both. Maybe Chelsea Green is going off to sort out a visa, or her relationship status with Mr. Woo Woo Woo, and Zelina Vega is getting a bit of a push because Alistair's come back and said, I want her to be in the upper echelon to the mid card.
You never know. She might come back with Mr. Woo Woo.
Wow. Yeah. Wouldn't that be something?
I think Vega could be positioned to come, because I don't think Alistair Black, and we'll cover it later on, but I don't think he's coming for a solo run. I think he's going to bring that same House of Black kind of energy that he had. Not that either of you two would know, but in AEW, him and House of Black were pretty decent for what they did. Pretty spooky, like they're all spoopy dupes. And, he gets to work with his missus, and if they do something together, I think that'd be pretty cool. And if that's the fact that she needed the US title to do that, fair enough. As for Chelsea, I mean, I was really surprised that they didn't put Chelsea on the WrestleMania card, because I actually thought her title reign, for an entertainment standpoint, has been excellent.
She's done the best
MSG, in Madison Square Garden, she came out wearing the Cactus Jack outfit, which I thought was fucking brilliant. And all of the other things she's done whilst she's been champ have been excellent. We've lost Fraz for some reason. I don't know what there he is.
I was just turning the light on, so
I mean, she has not had the chance to get in the ring and have a classic match since she won the title. But I think she's always given us moments when she's been in the ring. She's given us matches like Money in the Bank. And I agree with you, Andy. I just think she's really entertaining. I think she's got a really good character, and I hope she's not going anywhere, because I think if they're not careful, they'll stall this. Whereas it could build a lot more. There's a lot more to it. Building up to this evolution to PLE, you don't want to be losing Chelsea Green.
Definitely not.
Eureka! And she's also got a cracking bottom as well.
Yeah,
They both have. They both have.
Interesting though, as well. Something we've mentioned the fact that she's Canadian, but obviously Zelina Vega is Puerto Rican.
Cute.
So we're going for different cultures, different fans. We are WWE is a lot more global. Vince was obviously a massive patriot, and he loved the fact that he could take his brand abroad and it work. But he wouldn't always push anyone from anywhere else. Whereas the last few years, we've definitely seen more of that. So maybe that's something like that they're doing.
She's of Afro-Latin Puerto Rico descent.
Yeah,
but she was born and grew up in New York City.
Yeah, a bit like Damien Priest.
Razor Ramon,
Razor Ramon, yeah. Because of Flashback a few years ago, she had an awesome match, didn't she, in Puerto Rico?
In Puerto Rico.
Okay, gentlemen, let's speed things up. I am wary that anyone who is attempting to watch this has fallen asleep as we've been through half the card and we've been going half an hour.
Let's go.
So my favourite part of SmackDown on Friday was The Miz and Carmelo Hayes. I still think The Miz is awesome. I know you two are not particular fans, but Carmelo Hayes receives a gift from The Miz, which is a gold chain with a fuck off massive, and I'm talking a huge, Andre the Giant face. Legendary. The only thing I didn't understand, and Dave being the encyclopedia of wrestling, he called himself the 10th wonder of the world. If I'm right, there are only 7, and Andre called himself the 8th.
China. She was the
China.
China was the 9th wonder of the world. Oh, well, thank you for informing a dum-dum like myself. Which then led to The Miz coming to the ring and cutting a short promo, basically saying he felt he's being mistreated because he's beaten Cena, Orton and Mysterio taking all the opportunities, where, and the return of Aleister Black. Awesome entrance.
Yep.
Always liked him before. Obviously, I don't watch a lot of AEW, but what I have watched, he has done good work there. Hopefully, he gets the push that he deserves.
Yeah.
Coming back. Andy, was it you who was saying the black mass that he did was a bit dog shit?
Yeah, someone on Instagram posted. Yeah, someone on Instagram posted the fan cam footage from behind Michael Cole or behind Tessator and Wade Barrett, and from that angle you see the black mass, and it catches Miz like here. It's nowhere near his head at all, and Miz makes it obviously look like he's been shot. But it's just quite funny that obviously he's not because Aleister Black hasn't wrestled even in AEW since before the new year. These obviously, okay, fair enough, he's probably trained, obviously, but to miss your first black mass by that much is quite a thing. So it's quite funny.
I'm worried about that.
I'm not worried. I just thought it was funny.
I also will just add, and again, correct me if I'm wrong, but the placement of Black coming out. Okay, they did it with Rusev on Raw last week, where he came out when Otis and is it Tozawa were in the ring. Just thought it was a bit weird for Rusev coming out doing that, and the same like Aleister Black, The Miz. What are they going to feud? Like, do you know what I mean?
Well, the Miz is.
I know they've been building up for weeks to get him on the show, but
I think
surely he could have done it to someone else. I don't know.
The Miz is in that stage of his career. We used to call this in like the late or early 2000s, mid 2000s, when someone new came in or someone came back. They got the we used to call it the Lawler line or the Lawler role, where they'd have a little feud with Jerry Lawler, and it's like, right, just beat someone who's not really on the card, not really a top guy anymore, but it's got a name and it just sets you off. The Miz, I'm not saying he's obviously not as old as Lawler, he's not as washed up as Lawler, but he's not a major player. He's not going to hurt his character if he loses. But he's someone that, if you're Aleister Black and you come back and you've been away for a while and you beat a guy who's been there for 20 years and is a former WWE champion, it is good for him. It's much better for Aleister Black than it is bad for The Miz. and they could put a match together, and it could be fine. And they're total contrast. Aleister Black's style and what he represents versus the Miz. They actually are polar opposites. So I think it kind of works. Don't think it'd be a long feud. Don't think it'd be a money-making feud. But you come back, you have a couple of weeks, you beat a big name, and then you crack on. And that's what I mean. Muhammad Hassan, Taz, loads of people do that with Jerry Lawler. You just come in for a couple of weeks.
And then Muhammad Hassan, what a legend.
Should never.
Dolph Ziggler had that role for a long time, didn't he? Dolph Ziggler, when NXT was under Hunter, Dolph Ziggler fought Baron Corbin, Shinsuke Nakamura,
everyone,
Bobby Roode. Almost the only person I think that came up during that time that didn't fight Dolph Ziggler was Kevin Owens, and that's only because he fought Cena. Everyone else fought Dolph Ziggler first.
They've always done it. You have to have an old school workhorse. It used to be Tito Santana. Poor guy used to lose on every single pay-per-view after WrestleMania 1.
Dwayne Gill,
but he's good because he can call a match, he can save a match if it's going wrong, and that's what you need. Aleister Black's coming back, he's already made a bit of a mistake, but Miz is a veteran, they'll get through that match. No one's going to come out of that looking bad, really. Aleister Black is only going to get better by beating him in a short, sharp, quick 3-week feud. Job done.
I think the match should literally go ring the bell, kick in the head, pin, end the match. Don't need to have any more than that.
Yeah, really, surely that is going to be a match on SmackDown. That will not be a PLE match.
I wouldn't have thought so.
But if it only takes 2 minutes, plus that cool intro for Aleister Black, it gets eyes on the pay. It gets eyes on the pay-per-view, gets eyes on the product, and you get a moment for Aleister Black to just kick Miz in the head, and just that's it.
I do want to move on to the next match, but briefly before we do, how cool would it be if we had some sort of carrying cross Aleister Black? I don't know, either feuding against each other or as a faction.
Oh, 100%.
Just throwing it out there.
That'd be incredible. He's awesome. They're both awesome. Having one on Raw and one on SmackDown is great for me because that's got that sort of theme to it. But yeah, having them combined in some way, shape, or form at some point would be awesome.
Ministry of Darkness 2.0, some may say.
For the Bruise.
So then we come to Nick Aldis's match, which is LA Knight versus Drew McIntyre for the number one contender for the US title. I don't know if you guys saw it. It was a good match. Obviously, Drew is the man. I love that guy. But Solo comes out, attacks LA Knight. Then Damian Priest, Gay Taker, comes back. You don't think he's there. Well, Drew referred to it earlier, didn't he, saying that he's not there. And then he comes out of nowhere with a South of Heaven choke slam on McIntyre. Is that going to be a four-way for the title, do you think?
Be in it, really.
And Solo screws Jacob out of the title?
I don't think Jacob will lose it that early, but I think that match has got there's a lot of ways to get outs in that match. And again, I don't think whoever loses that match is not really going to get damaged.
No, it's not going to affect him, is it?
No, it's not going to affect him.
Could always do it as an elimination match. That's what I'd do.
You could do, but then
that way no one really loses.
It depends what you want to get out of the match. If making the winner really strong and really over is the only real objective, then yeah. But the fact that you've got four guys who effectively could all split off and fight each other, but they're still in two current feuds at the moment, I think that would hurt them. So I'm just looking forward to the match. I think that would be an awesome way to get four guys again loading up this Backlash card. What a US title match that is. Just excited about what happens, to be fair. But we haven't, Drew and Priest are not finished yet. Priest needs to win one, and then I think we joke about Drew not winning anything, but I think he'll win that feud overall.
He needs to.
Yeah, he absolutely needs.
He hasn't won anything for years.
But it almost parallels or mirrors what's happened on Raw with that IC title match at Mania, which was incredible. We're now starting to build. If we can build to some sort of US title scene with those four, or even five if you include Solo.
I think Solo will be after the fact. I don't think Solo will get involved in this one. I think
no, probably not.
But will be just holding up Jacob's arm or holding up the title at the end of the match for Jacob.
I think he'll save Jacob, because the whole point of this promo tonight or on SmackDown was that he, this is all thanks to him. And I think what we need now is a few weeks or maybe months of Solo sort of almost proving that. And then they burn. This is going to be a slow burner with those two. If they fought any time before SummerSlam, I'd be amazed. I think they could hold it off longer than that. So we'll see. But this will be a few weeks of Solo proven to Jacob. See, it is me. I saved you there. I saved you here. I saved you there. And it'll all be Jacob saying, yeah, but I didn't need you. I didn't want you. I never asked for that. That's going to be tit for tat for a few weeks. Easy.
Now, I wasn't going to mention the next segment before the main event, but I did read something on social media which made me laugh. So it's the interaction between Cena and R-Truth. And R-Truth is basically like, you've always been my hero. I'll do anything for you. And someone actually said, well, perhaps R-Truth will come out in the Randy match at Backlash and help Cena.
Yeah, because Truth isn't a face or a heel; he's just Truth.
No.
So he's screwed over the Miz, but done it in a comedic way so that everybody loves it. He can get away pretty much with anything.
It'd be pretty wild.
Yeah, and again,
it would be wild. That would be one of the last things I expected to see.
He could come out as John Cena and wrestle the match.
Imagine.
Who knows? Imagine. I mean, make it a ladder match, and he'll come out and throw himself over the top rope instead. I think that's a Royal Rumble.
So that moves us on to the main event, which is the TLC match between the Street Profits DIY and Motor City Machine Guns. I don't know, Andy, do you want to take this one? Because I didn't actually watch the match. I know that the Street Profits won, and I know it's sacrilege that I didn't watch the best match on the card, but...
Admittedly, and I will be honest with you, I only got the highlights of this one as well. I had this, so I watched this Saturday night at work on a break, and yeah, I was absolutely shattered. From what I saw, very good match. The bits that stick out to me are obviously everything that's been seen online about Montez using using the Matey Boy's prosthetic leg as a weapon on some poor dude in the
yeah. I saw that.
Was it on Gargano or was it on? I think it might have been on Gargano.
That was a call out to a match almost 1996 on almost the same day. I think there's one day out. It was in your house. Good friend.
Oh really?
Enemies when Diesel. Mad Dog Vachon was sitting in the crowd in
of course, Vachon.
Omaha, Nebraska, for In Your House, and he took his leg off and beat Shawn Michaels up with it in the no holds barred match. Diesel's second best match, actually, to be fair. But yeah, so that's why they did that.
Yeah. In terms of it's always going to be a good match. These three teams are very good. Street Profits, excellent. Montez Ford is destined for big things. DIY are superb, and the Motor City Machine Guns can have a really good match with
a broom.
Quite literally. So it's always going to be a good match. You throw in the TLC element as well. That's going to be good. So I don't think it should have been on Mania. It should have been on Mania instead of the. Your clicking is real loud, by the way.
What's up? I'm just typing in a little message saying how handsome you look.
Thank you, darling. It should have been Mania instead of New Day and Viking Raiders, but I think New Day and Viking Raiders would have given the night one card the breather that it didn't even need a breather.
Match two.
Like I said, it's match two. It wouldn't have needed a breather.
But anyway.
Poor decisions. But hey ho.
Well, and as you said to me last night, Andy, is it a match that should have been on Mania? Would New Day been better off winning that on Raw the next night? Arguably, I would have said yes, considering the rave reviews that
I think they got
the TLC match got.
I think they got scared because the Rumble, the tag match, didn't get It didn't help any of the participants out in that one. The crowd weren't into it. They're not getting
That's
over.
because of its placement, though, wasn't it?
But it's a TLC match at Mania.
It's got the history.
It's never not going to work.
And you, Dave, you also said when we watched Mania, the reason that New Day were on the card because they hadn't been on there for ages.
Yeah, I mean, let's face it. What have they done? I mean, since Kofi won the title, I can't even remember that they've done anything, and even that wasn't great. WrestleMania 33, they were what, hosts of the show? That was all. So almost 10 years ago. So and let's face it, that the Aleister Black. Sorry, not Aleister Black. Oh, what's his name?
Big E?
No. The guy on Raw, not Aleister Black, but we were just talking about him.
Karrion Kross.
Karrion Kross, yeah, Karrion Kross has started this whole New Day thing. So I think there's more to come with that. So they're heels, they're over, they're the most over they've been again for a while, but not over enough to go on Mania in a cold tag match with a tag team that are now no longer Vikings, but still dress like them, sound like them, act like them, and have music like them.
If it looks like shit, smells like shit, and tastes like shit, it's probably shit.
They've got so much potential, that those two. But why change your name if you're just going to keep everything else about the gimmick the same? I don't understand it. But
okay, well, before we move on to Raw, what are you rating SmackDown at 5 stars, Andy?
I'd say middle of the road. Maybe a bit higher. I'll give it a bit higher because there was lots of good promo work, and the TLC. Like a solid 3.5. It's never going to break any records for being the best SmackDown of all time, because Kurt Angle's not in it, so can't be. But
I just think, 3 hours.
It's damn
3
true.
hours too much for SmackDown.
And actually, to be fair, we mentioned this in our little conflab last night when we were talking about Raw, and I'll bring that up in a minute. 3-hour broadcast, 5 matches. That is unacceptable in 2025.
But the flip
unacceptable.
But the flip side to that is just giving the talent time to tell longer stories. So again, it depends what you want. Now, I already said earlier, you can tell a really good story in 3 minutes. You can tell a really good story in a minute. It depends what story you're telling. And the issue is we don't know what stories they're telling. But I'm with you. I think that SmackDown struggles being on 3 hours, and I think that while it is good that talent is getting a chance to get over, which is something Heyman did with SmackDown back in 2002, you've got to remember that SmackDown was always the B show back then, and he decided to make SmackDown the wrestling show. He's the one that put Kurt Angle, Edge, Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, Rey Mysterio, Chavo Guerrero. He's the one that took all of those people off Raw, traded them for like the Un-Americans and just random, and made SmackDown dominant. I think they're trying to do that. So I like that they're trying to do it. It's just not quite there yet. I think in a 2-hour format it will work because they'll shrink down some of the matches, they'll shrink down some of the comedy, they'll get the balance right. 3 hours, it just feels drawn out. And I still think it would be a slog if they had more matches, but they were shorter, because I think the key issue there with SmackDown is half that roster is just not over enough to carry the show.
Well, like I said, hopefully the shake-up does something, because I think it does need it. I think it needs it.
Well, it goes back to 2 hours in June, so that's a result.
Dave, what's your rating at 5 stars?
Yeah, it's 2.5. Because it is a very typical SmackDown after Mania. Aleister Black's great, Cena and Orton was good. Obviously TLC is fantastic, but everything else is questionable and just not over. Not to say it can't get over and it can't get better, but for me, SmackDown peaks and troughs far too much, and I can very easily switch off and completely ignore it. At the very least, you want a sort of constant bar, don't you, and a few peaks.
Interesting. I would have given it 3.75. I thought it was very good. SmackDown is normally, as you say.
I think the TLC brought it up a bit.
Yeah, TLC, but I didn't watch TLC. I just heard that it was good. But, Cena Orton, Tiffy Mangill. You've also got Carmelo Hayes receiving that Andre the Giant chain. LA Knight, Drew with Solo, Jacob, Quality. Aleister Black comes back. And then you've got the TLC. I haven't even watched. After Mania, that is good. And they're trying to build into the next PLE. I just thought it was worth that. Maybe we don't need to.
It's just for 3 hours. I think, in a 3-hour show, you only see Cena and Orton properly once. I know you kind of see Cena with R-Truth a little bit later on, but yeah, I don't know. I just struggle with that. With it, like I say, half.
You're a hard man to please, though, David.
I'm not. No, not at all. I'm probably, if we talk about Mania, I'm probably the one out of me and Andy that preferred it. And I've got some reasons why. But yeah, it's SmackDown on a whole is just not quite hitting it for me at the minute.
Okay, well, I'm going to hand over to Andy to.
In the interest of not going 3 hours on this podcast, let's get on with Raw, shall we? So we opened Raw with the newest faction in WWE, which was Seth Rollins, Bron Breakker, and the wise man Paul Heyman coming down to the ring. And in the ring, Rollins does his usual address of the revolutionary, the visionary Seth freaking Rollins, addresses the CM Punk chants because there were like a small smattering of them, and then all of a sudden they sort of really ramped up after the singing had died down, and said that his WrestleMania win hurt Roman Reigns' fans as well. He declares that he is and that they are the future of the industry, and that the future of the industry runs through him and him only. All of a sudden, Sami Zayn comes out. He interrupts and basically blows a little bit of smoke up Rollins' arsehole, and says that he's his friend, but points out that he's acting just like Reigns and Punk, jealous and power hungry. Sami compares Rollins' faction to the Bloodline itself, and then there's a cool bit where he brings up Bron Breakker, and he just goes, and if your boy keeps on looking at me like this, I'm going to kick his face in. And that's pretty cool, because I like it when Sami gets irate. Rollins gives a warning to Sami and says he's either with them or he's a target, so he should just move out of the way. And he says, because he's his friend, if he moves out of the way and goes to SmackDown, then they'll say no more about it. And he gives him till the end of the night to decide. I have thoughts about this whole situation, which I did discuss with Fraz yesterday, but I would like to hear your thoughts about it in the interim, boys.
Doesn't do it for me. Pretty static. Yes, that's far too predictable. I think one big takeout for me is long-term storytelling. The future of the business runs through me, so that's the key there. That's going to be the end. That's going to be the last thing we hear. So that whoever does defeat Seth, because he hasn't got much longer left in the ring, year or two, will be someone big, and it will be the future. You're almost saying he's almost saying he's going to pass the torch to someone when the time is right. So I'd be interested to see if that. I do think that will be a long-term storytelling, but yeah, it's not a big enough hook for me to watch 3 hours of Raw to watch until the end segment to see if Sami Zayn is going to join them or not. Who cares?
Well, I mean, I know you've got hatred for Sami because he's Syrian, but
no, where's he been since the Rumble? Why should I care about him all of a sudden? It's cannon fodder. Might as well have been Dwayne Gill.
I like Sami.
I like Sami.
I like Sami. I never used to like Sami. I only like Sami.
Only liked him in the Bloodline. Only liked him in the Bloodline.
Bloodline.
Sami Uso was.
However, my take on it is that Seth Rollins wore some incredible glasses. His jacket was $13,500.
Oh yeah, this is it. I mean,
Seth is the man. Bron, I must say, so I caught some bits on Insta, and I must say, I thought that Bron Breakker looked a bit out of place, and it does look like Heyman and Bron Breakker are like bronzed up turkeys. They're ready. They're ready to leave or turn on Seth already. For me, they just don't fit his whole personality.
Seth
his
doesn't
persona.
Seth doesn't need Heyman.
He don't need Breakker, and he does he need Heyman?
But again, it's about last week everyone was talking about it's Evolution 2.0, and we're gonna they're gonna do this and they're gonna do that.
It is.
Could be, but I mean, I don't know. So, I mean, I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I mean, I loved Evolution. I mean, they wouldn't have come out on the first week and done a promo with Sami Zayn, so they're already leagues ahead so far. But I don't. Yeah, it's all new. Batista looked dreadful when he first. He was awkward, didn't know how to act. I'm not sure. I'm not convinced. But yeah, again, long-term storytelling. Heyman and Seth. It's not going to be all rosy, is it?
I'm not necessarily worried about Heyman. It's just more Breakker.
Breakker. I mean, it is Batista Triple H, isn't it? Let's be fair. This is what we're building to. We are building to Bron Breakker beating Seth Rollins at WrestleMania, maybe next year, maybe the year after. That is the story. And Seth saying the future of this business runs through me. He's saying that at the moment, thinking his alliance with Bron Breakker means that Bron Breakker's running through him and as a team, but actually it's not. It's going to be Bron Breakker running through him and taking it, exactly like Batista did with Triple H. And I'm absolutely fine with that. It's cool. If that takes 2 years, no problems. It's going to be awesome. Long-term storytelling, evolution type style, fine. No problems with that at all. Yeah, but I agree with you. The Heyman bit's a bit weird. There'll be lots of rocks in the road with that one. I'm not convinced we'll see it be a big faction.
I think it has to be.
I'd like a four-man faction, but I don't know. I think it'll depend what happens at Backlash and what they do. If they're in a tag match, then I think their third man will be Mabel. Obviously not. Their third man is going to come out and save the match.
Big Daddy V.
Well, he was almost. If Hogan couldn't make it, they had him in the background, didn't they, for the NWO stuff. And then they got Virgil instead, but never mind. So, yeah, I think the third man might come in at Backlash. Of course, that man might not be a man. I think that's too obvious.
I think it will be the man.
I'd keep her away.
No, I think so. Based on what you just said there, it being a three-man group, I think the more the better. I think you've got to lean full on Dangerous Alliance style. I think you have to go down.
Andy, that is exactly.
Bron, Seth, Heyman, Becky, A-Town Down Under.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. Theory. There's a few. I mean, yeah. I mean, and you could even go with 5, because Heyman's not a wrestler, is he? So you could have 5 wrestlers in Heyman, and that is proper Dangerous Alliance, isn't it? Let's be fair. And
just your tag team, your woman, because obviously Becky replacing Medusa, your tag team replacing. You know what I mean? I think there's enough. I think there's enough there. My biggest issue, and what I was sort of going to, 2 things. First of all, yes, Bron does feel very unnatural in that setting. He doesn't feel comfortable yet, and I think that's just going to come with time, because he has very rarely felt comfortable at any point during his run. Even in NXT, he never seems that comfortable just out there talking. There was a funny bit where just after Sami offers Bron out, where Heyman turns to Bron and just starts rubbing his back like a baby, just trying to calm him down, and it's the funniest fucking thing. It's like full on Paul Heyman being really weird, and I love Paul Heyman being weird.
I saw that as proper Paul Heyman. But honest to God, only a few weeks ago, I was watching Armageddon 2002, and Ric Flair was Batista's manager, and Evolution hadn't started yet. Very, very similar. Braun's not there yet. This is, and just like Batista wasn't. The difference was Batista was an older person, but he wasn't in the business. He hadn't been in the business long enough.
No.
That's why he was put in that group to learn. Braun's been put in that group to learn because he is younger. But it's the means to the end of the are exactly the same. So yeah, I'm really excited for this. I think this is going to be really, really good. And I'd be happy if they went Dangerous Alliance, Evolution, or I'd be all right. I'd be a bit disappointed if they kept it small and just 3 of them. I'd much prefer. I think Heyman's Dangerous Alliance, his last legacy to the business, because his career can't keep going. Seth's last legacy to the business. I think putting over Bron Breakker ultimately is going to be the goal there.
I think so.
Cool.
My other thing, I shall bring it up later, because it's sort of my last point about that whole situation sort of flipped on itself later on, but I'll bring it up later. Right, the first match on the card was Rhea Ripley versus Roxanne Perez, which, do you know what? I'm here for everything that Roxy and Julia and all of these girls coming up from NXT are doing. Absolutely more of it. The NXT women's roster is widely regarded in the IWC as the best women's division in the world. Better than Stardom, better than anything in AEW, obviously. Better than most things everywhere. And it's really, really deep and really, really, really talented. And the more that they are positioned on Raw, the better. Absolutely. All for it. Plus, getting Rhea Ripley on my TV is never a bad thing, and I will always love a bit of Rhea Ripley.
Awesome.
So the match itself, Roxy used some mind games early on, sort of getting in and getting out, taking a few powders and trying to frustrate Rhea. Match got physical, didn't last particularly long, but Perez did keep targeting Ripley's leg. Julia made her way down to the ring, distracting Ripley and leading to multiple roll-up near falls from Perez. Julia interfered again, attacking Ripley and caused a DQ. Rhea won via DQ. The 2 NXT girls started beating the snot out of Rhea, and then Io comes down to help, does her stupid crap, and then they attack her as well. Rhea recovers quickly and then helps Sky fight him back.
Just quickly on that, how over is Io Sky at the moment now, thanks to that WrestleMania match and last week's Raw and now this week? She's doing exactly what I said she would do, boys. She's awesome.
She's very good.
A lot of
I may as well turn my camera off right now. I'm so uninterested.
What are you talking about? That match last week on Raw. We'll talk about the star ratings at WrestleMania, and we'll put Kevin Nash in his place for wondering why she was in that match. The reason she's in that match is because of the star rating it got. So he can go home with his dodgy knee, can't he?
My silence says it all.
All right, Eubank.
You boys. Terrible.
Oh, no, I mean, look, I'm not saying she's not talented. She is great. It just doesn't interest me.
Are you talking about Io? Sorry.
The whole women's sort of scene at the moment. Yeah. I'm not, unless it's Bailey.
Oh, God.
Mm-hmm.
Or Stephanie Vaquer.
Oh, yeah.
So are you would you say you're very much in the era of, in your own personal era of eye candy is best? Treat it as it is?
No,
do you appreciate their talents as wrestlers?
As I've said to David on many times, if Bull Nakano was on the roster right now, I would be much more into it. But currently, I'm more interested in a Carmelo Hayes gold chain than I am a few people from NXT coming up to beat up Rhea Ripley.
I get it. But again, it's like the tag division. He's building it. We've got this, I've said it a billion times now, we've got Evolution 2, PLE, so there's going to be a focus on the women. And the good news is at the moment is whether you like their personas or the characters or not, actually, a lot of them are actually really good, use the word wrestlers, but they're good performers at the moment. And last week on Raw and this week on Raw with the call-ups from NXT, I think show that they could just come in and start finding the 2 biggest female stars on Raw.
Absolutely. It's no different to football, is it? You pull up a youngster or someone from the reserve team and they do a job and they don't look out of place.
No.
But that it just doesn't resonate with me. I'm not saying that the
the
triple threat at Mania was possibly the second one the second best match on the card, but it was only the second best match for me because I love Dom. And I said to you guys, as long as Seth wins night 1 and Dom wins night 2, my mania is done. I'm made up.
Oh, no, I get it. I totally get it. But I just like the fact that they're pushing them at a point where the people coming up are capable of taking the spots, which makes it more bearable to watch, and then hopefully gets you more invested in it in the long term. We'll see. We'll see when we review the Evolution 2 pay-per-view, how invested you were in it.
Yeah, that may be a dual stream between you and Andy. Currently on vacation.
So next up, if you're happy for me to continue, Farrad. So
yeah. Go.
So next up, we had Judgment Day in their stupid little clubhouse, which is not a clubhouse. But we started on that. It's quite clearly it's just an area of backstage, but whatever.
Well, you wouldn't say that about APA's office, would you? That was clearly an office.
That had a door.
That you could walk round.
No, you daren't. Bradshaw will beat the living fuck out of you if you walk around it. So Balor walks up and questions JD as to why his return was a surprise and why he wasn't informed, because apparently Finn still thinks he's the leader or something. McDonough says Liv Morgan arranged a match for them against the War Raiders tonight. Balor is clearly frustrated by it all and reminds McDonough that he wants to be kept in the loop at all times. I think the Judgment Day is not long for this world. I think with Dom being given face responses, Liv going off to do a little movie, and Balor, I think JD's going to get a push after coming back. Carlito is just Carlito. I don't think there's long left for the Judgment Day.
No.
Probably not. But
and you know what?
Each person you've mentioned there can go off and do their own thing.
Massively.
Yeah. It serves its purpose, and whether you like him or not, it got a world champion out of it. It's got an Intercontinental champion out of it. It got tag team champions out of it. McDonough probably could have done with maybe getting a little bit more over before it breaks up. I mean, I love him. I think he's fantastic, but maybe it would have been nice if he got more, or his tag run was better. Finn Balor's a former Universal Champion. He's going to be fine no matter what happens. And Carlito's Carlito, so he can do whatever he wants.
Exactly. I'll spit in the face of anyone that says Carlito is irrelevant.
You can't say it hasn't worked. That's what faction is for. You've got one of the most over Intercontinental champions, heel or face, however you want to look at it, in Dom. And you've got Damian Priest out of it. Whether you like him or not, he's world title, and McDonough's coming up. So, and adding Liv Morgan in when you replace Rhea Ripley, can't forget Rhea Ripley originally in that as well. So, what a faction! What a faction!
Very much so.
I will just stand corrected. If Liv Morgan is on the TV, I will watch.
Another superb posterior.
Bottom.
Right, next up, we had an in-ring segment between everyone's favourite YouTuber up until we go live, Logan Paul, and he comes out and insults KC because they're in Kansas City, says they've never seen a real legend, especially not Jey Uso. Logan says he's done everything in WWE except win a world title. He's also not won a Royal Rumble or any fucking thing else. Jey Uso comes out, does a bit of a yeet deal. A bit surprised he didn't come through the crowd, actually. Says his championship was earned, not handed out. Logan will have to fight for it. Logan mocks Jey, calling him stupid and predicting he'll crash out and lose like always, like he did with the IC title. Jey keeps him stunned pretty damn quick and super kicks him in the head to shut him up as the segment ends. There's a really, really nice bit actually in Jey's entrance where he went over to this little kid who was holding up a sign that said "Yeet for Cancer," and they said on commentary that the kid had his parents had booked this kid his ticket to Raw as a sort of target to get into remission from suffering from cancer, and the kid managed to get into remission just in time for Raw, and Jey happened to be his favorite character, and Jey came over and yeeted with him and gave him the yeet glasses that Jey wears. So I thought that was pretty sweet as a nice little yeet.
Love that.
So I think that sort of thing is what's going to make Jey a really good world champion, like that sort of, like he's already started doing Make-A-Wishes and shit like that, and it's just like, that's cool, man. Like he's so fucking cool.
He's so over. I've told you boys before, but like for the benefit of the 2 or 3 people that might listen to this, I was in the O2 in September, and it was when he was selling his pink and blue Yeet t-shirt. It was a SmackDown branded show, and 70% of the arena was pink with his t-shirts. They were just selling out. Everybody's yeeting, and I said to Alfie, I went, he's not even here.
He's not on the show.
And you just know. There's times you just know, and you knew that was coming, and he deserves it 100%.
Yeah, I've said to you guys, like, the whole, I'll go back to Sami, but Sami Zayn, Andy's trying to smoke out the stream. Sami Zayn was hot at Elimination Chamber when he fought Roman, and obviously they had the plans of Roman and Cody went on to lose that anyway. They missed the train with Sami and cashing in, maybe beating Roman. Obviously, it wasn't the right move because look what's happened. But
could have won the match without winning the title, though.
Yeah, possibly, but they had to capitalize on his popularity and how over he was. I'm glad that, although it was a complete out of left field, him winning the Rumble, and I will never forget that night watching it with you two. That was incredible. But well, look, we'll talk about match ratings later for that, but clearly the right decision. Deserved champion, has worked hard. I have said, whether you guys have taken notice or not, Logan Paul would be in a title picture. I know that he is not the most popular person, and he is obviously there.
Brings eyes.
Yeah, because he's YouTube sensation, etc. But he is great in the ring. Well, he's athletic, and I'm intrigued to see what he can do if he dedicates more time to the WWE.
Yeah,
if he was there week in, week out for a sustained period, who's to say that he can't win the title, win the respect of the fans, and have a bit of a run, and then fuck off into the sunset and go, look, I've done my boxing, I've done my YouTube, I've done my WWE now.
I mean, yeah, let's face it, he's in the late 80s, Flair and the Four Horsemen were like the yuppie style heels, out in the suits. We're better than everyone else. I'm better than you. I make more money than you. I'm better than you. I don't care what you think. I'm better than you. He's the modern version of that. Obviously, he's not got the wrestling ability, but I mean, he's a phenomenal athlete and he does some crazy stuff in the ring. But if you strip wrestling back to its absolute most basic, I've just told you how over Jey Uso was and is, and we see it anyway. I know you're not arguing that point, but he's the most over face in a lot of ways that you've got, and Logan Paul's the most over heel that you've got. So why not put them both together at Backlash? Again, it's stacking that card. I mean, this card is going to work. I cannot see this Backlash failing, because even if they're not all going to be 5-star Tokyo Dome matches, but that's not what they're supposed to be. This match won't be great. There'll be some incredible athletic bits done, but the great news for everyone is that Jey Uso is going to win, because he's not going to lose the title that quickly.
Imagine if he did, though.
I just don't see it. I mean, it could happen, but I mean, for me, top heel versus a top face, I think it's gonna it'll help both of them.
Do you think then that that's what made Gunther and Jey a little on the lackluster side? The fact that Gunther, no matter what he does, is fundamentally still an evil foreigner and is not the top heel.
Maybe
You've got the top face against someone who's just not the top heel.
I think there's also a huge contingent of people who love Gunther.
Yeah,
that's very
so
true.
It makes
that's
it
very true.
You get to that point where, it's that, it's not the same, but you get so good at being a heel, you become cool and you become a face. Triple H, Kurt Angle, other people we can't talk about, who I accidentally mentioned earlier. But yeah, it just accidentally sort of happens sometimes, and. Yeah, I think Gunther's like that. I think people wanted more from Gunther's title reign. I think everybody did, and I think everybody was just disappointed with his title reign, and just disappointed it was over. I think had his title reign been better, and had he been a hardcore heel during his title reign, and done some of the stuff that he was doing in the last couple of weeks in the build-up to more long term, then it might have worked. But I think ultimately people love watching a Gunther match. WrestleMania 39 against Drew and Sheamus. I mean, it's Gunther. He's a good guy.
There's always WWE historically, so far as I'm concerned, have always been able to only book two types of heels. Your badass, kick the shit out of your heel, the evil sort of overlord heel that doesn't need anyone and will just beat the living snot out of you, or the chicken shit heel. Now, for Gunther's entire run, he didn't have for the most part, he didn't have Ludwig Kaiser backing him up. He didn't have Vinci backing him up. He just had himself, and he wasn't beating the snot out of anyone important. All he was doing was week in, week out, beating up Tozawa, and no one gives a fuck. But yeah.
Sorry, anyone that is watching this, I have just put in our private chat, Barca 3, Inter 3. I cannot believe I'm missing that game. I thought it would be a fucking ball draw, 0-0. Anyway, PSG, baby.
But yeah, so I just think maybe, Gunther suffered from not being the killer that we all know he actually is for the duration of his entire reign. Like beating up Tozawa and Otis every week. No one gives a fuck.
No, exactly. I think they tried to make him a bit of a, almost like you say, almost a bit of a chicken shit heel, but it's like everybody knows he's a badass. It's not going to work. And I agree with you, but we all know what's going to happen now, don't we? He's going to be a badass because he's going to start fighting some badass people. But
is he going to fight the badass?
Billy Gunn is no longer, but I mean, this is going to go for.
No, he's not dead. He's not dead.
I was going to say,
definitely not dead.
Anyone who's watching who's wondered, David has just said Billy Gunn is dead. He is not dead.
I didn't say he's dead.
He's well and alive.
He's too busy scissoring his kids. But that's how AEW get ratings. So this is going to be Gunther versus Goldberg. Unfortunately, it's going to be the retirement match. It's going to be night.
Look, this is my hot take for this week, gentlemen. Let's not talk about it. Let's move on to War Raiders Judgment Day.
War Raiders Judgment Day. The return of JD McDonough to active competition. The Viking losers come out. The New Day have joined commentary. Adding a little bit of a distraction at ringside, throwing in some of their color commentary. Back and forth match between the two teams. Pretty good match, actually. Carlito attempted to interfere on Judgment Day's behalf. Penta also interfered and stood on the table, kicking McDonough off the top rope and doing his stupid little walk, which was funny. The War Raiders hit War Machine on McDonough for the win.
I can't
and that was that.
I'm sorry.
That was
kill me.
Okay.
This is an edit moment.
My poor choice of words aside, nothing match. Thank you. Nothing match. Not important. War Raiders. Who gives a fuck? Judgment Day breaking up very soon.
But
15 minutes of wasted time.
I think we did a disservice there. At the very least, I know you did say it, Andy, but we were laughing. At least Penta came out and did a bit that happened to him the previous week. So he jumped up on the apron and pushed McDonough off at the top rope, which is what McDonough done to him last week on Raw. So
very true.
Yeah,
very true.
There. And hey, what a match that could be as well, McDonough and Penta. And if Penta does team up with his brother, then we might get a Finn Balor McDonough tag match before Judgment Day dies, and I can't see that being bad, to be fair.
No,
but let's face it,
that could be the match. Yeah, Judgment Day.
Yeah, but let's face it, the only people you want to see in the ring with a mask is El Grande Americano.
Well, guest referee, clearly. But anyway.
Sorry.
I think a big push is coming JD McDonough as well. I've made no beans about the fact that I think the way he continued after the match against War Raiders back when, with a broken rib and a punctured lung, I think that will come back to him in a big way, and he will be pushed to the moon. He has got IC champion or US champion written all over him. He really has.
Well, he's been the sacrificial lamb for forever now, and he's coming off the Cage War Games, doing crazy stuff at TLC when he's not even in the match, or Money in the Ladder. So yeah, he definitely deserves his lashback.
His lashback,
indeed.
So following that match, we had a little backstage segment with the Paul Heyman, Bron Breakker, and Sami Zayn. Sami is talking with Otis for some reason. When Paul Heyman arrives and asks for a moment alone, Heyman reminds Zayn that they were the OG Bloodline, but Zayn says Heyman destroyed that at WrestleMania. Heyman said whether it's Rollins or Breakker, they both see themselves as the top guy now. Heyman offers Zayn a choice, the same choice, in fact, accept a transfer to SmackDown, receive an immediate title shot for the Undisputed Championship, or die in the past. As Heyman walks off, Bron appears nearby, smiling ominously. Any notes?
I'll be really quick. It's all too obvious. It's a repeat of what happened in the first segment. It's a total waste of time. Didn't do anything for Heyman. Didn't do anything for Zayn. Didn't do anything for Bron Breakker. Didn't do anything for that story of the night.
Agreed.
Toilet break for me.
Viewers, if it isn't obvious, David hates Sami Zayn. He has no time for him whatsoever.
It doesn't do anything for anyone in that segment. It didn't.
It doesn't. It didn't do anything for you. Yeah.
Okay.
You have to remain objective.
Yeah.
However, your hatred spans.
Okay.
Just like Andi hates Charlotte Flair, she has a purpose. And,
but I didn't say that.
If that is your emotion, if that extracts that kind of hatred.
I didn't actually say anything about Zayn. I said it didn't help anyone in that segment, and I love 90% of the people in that segment. So
I see what they're saying, because what did they get out of that segment that they couldn't have got by literally running a recap, picture in picture, of what happened in the opening segment?
Look,
forgive me here, but obviously I haven't watched Raw. But did Paul Heyman and Seth Rollins say to Sami in the opening segment, if you go to SmackDown, you'll get an instant title match?
No, they didn't say that.
Okay. Again, for me, that would have been more prudent in the opening section.
For sure.
If you're saying this is irrelevant, you don't need to do that. Fair enough. But for me,
how did they?
Okay, well, Sami. If Sami goes to SmackDown, damn. He's going to get a title match against Cena or whoever the champ is. I know, maybe not exactly.
Would Heyman? What I'm saying is that how would Heyman have facilitated that? What's Heyman got?
Well, who knows?
Well, why has Seth gone with Heyman?
I just think. I totally agree. It should have been said in the first segment. It wasn't. I just do not see that segment doesn't make me want to see the main event any more than I did from the first segment. I think actually what I'd have rather seen is someone interviewing Paul Heyman and saying, "Oh, Paul Heyman, I understand you've got some breaking news to extend from the segment that happened at the start of the show. What's going on? He's obnoxious Paul, because we've got to get back to obnoxious Paul Heyman even more so because he's a heel. It's like, I've pulled my stroke. I'm Paul Heyman. Don't you know who I am? I'm the mastermind. I'm this, I'm that, and the other. Not only has Sami Zayn got these choices, but I'm going to make it even sweeter for him, and I'm going to guarantee him a title match if he moves to SmackDown. Makes Heyman look more strong. It just does that does so much more than that segment did.
What it could have been is exactly what you said, but have Heyman coming out of the office of the general manager, which for that night was Nick Aldis. He could have just come out of the office of Nick Aldis and said, I've just spoken to Nick Aldis, and if Sami agrees to go to SmackDown tonight, he gets an Undisputed World title shot.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So,
it expands the story, extends the story, adds levity to the main event.
They basically did a replay of the beginning and added in the line that they forgot. And like Andy said, you could have done that with a replay, and then Michael Cole would have said, no, we've just heard this. However, if it had been me, I'd have done an obnoxious Paul Heyman interview that makes him look like a swami git, because that's what we want from him at the moment, because we want him to be a heel. And yes, he could do that with Nick Aldis, who I think should be called Aldi from now on.
Nick Aldis. Okay.
I
will refer to him as Nick Aldis if you refer to John Cena as John Seaman.
John Seaman. Yeah, well, you started that. 2003 Royal Rumble.
Yeah, John Seaman. Okay, swiftly moving on. Becky Lynch and Lyra.
Yeah. Fraz, you can turn off again. So Becky Lynch and Lyra. Becky comes out and admits that it was her who attacked Bayley. No extended whodunit sequence here, claiming that Bayley forgot who she was and needed a reminder. It's fair to say that Bayley and Becky have been going back and forth since 2020, if not before. But with Becky being out for the best part of 4, 5, 6 months now, I don't think anyone was excited about this one, including Fraz, who's just disappeared. Valkyria comes out. Valkyria comes out, looks $1 million, and you know what? For the first time in ever, in fact, Valkyria actually did something for me on the mic, and she was pretty good. I thought she sold it pretty well. Challenges Lynch to a match at Backlash for the Intercontinental Championship, which Becky accepts. Have a little brawl. Lynch runs to the back, and then as Valkyria's heading backstage, Lynch comes back out and beats the shit out of her again.
Everything I hate about Becky Lynch. Poor acting, rushed everything, insincere, just so fake. Can't stand it. So obvious. No.
Next up, we had Penta, Nick, Chad, and Andi.
Whoa.
Sorry, I just assumed, seeing as you don't care about them, you would not have an opinion on it. Go on.
Well, I mean, I've got an opinion. All I'm saying, Dave
doesn't care about your opinion now.
Yeah, he doesn't care about my opinion. Well, this is what happens when someone like me with no knowledge whatsoever starts demanding the mic. All I'll say is Lyra is going to be propelled due to Becky. I don't have hatred for Becky. I think she's quality, only because partly she's married to the greatest wrestler on the roster at the moment. She's going to propel her to the upper echelons of the main event card. By the end of the summer or the end of the year, she will be fighting for the title. Becky will win the IC title, and she can do her own thing. And if what you're saying is true, she becomes part of this stable with Rollins and Heyman and Breakker. It makes sense, doesn't it? You know. But anyway, you can now move on to your Penta and Nick Aldis.
Penta's backstage with Nick Aldis, and Nick tells him to calm down, but assures him he won't be fined for his interruptions earlier. He announces that next week Penta will face JD one-on-one. Chad and Ivy Nile come up behind him, and Gable mocks Penta for losing and for Rey Fenix's loss to El Grande Americano. Penta responds by super kicking Gable and then strolls away. No El Grande Americano, 0 stars. No. All the notes.
0 stars. We know my opinion of this situation. Lucha Libre is Grande Americano.
Yeah, they are synonymous. They go hand in hand.
Yeah, exactly.
Now, the next match is one that, you said you haven't watched it, but Fraz, if you get a chance, go back and watch it. It's Ivy versus Stephanie Vaquer, and we all know everyone loves Stephanie Vaquer. Very good.
Why does everyone like Stephanie Vaquer?
She's got really, really good upside. She's really good in the ring.
Is she?
She is actually really good in the ring. To be fair, she's a really, really top star. She's
do you know what I've noticed whenever I see clips of her online?
It's all her doing that one move.
Yeah, just that one move, and
that one move.
bottom.
Booker T again. Shuck it, duck it, quack.
I did see. Did she have a match last week on Raw against Io Sky? Yeah.
Yeah, the match of the night, by the way. So Io Sky in 48 hours had the 2 best matches on 3 events.
Why don't you just move to Japan, mate?
Well, sounds like sucking Io's dick to me.
Well, she's in Texas at the moment, so.
God. No, Vaquer has a nice bottom, and she has a nice move that involves her bottom, and that is probably the heights that she'll reach. Yeah,
I think she's
less said about the match, the better.
She's excellent in the ring. She's actually excellent bell to bell, and she's got a real good look and a really cool entrance. And
good
just everything about her is everything.
Good entrance, good character, good in the ring. Again, you're bringing someone up from the reserve team, and they're in 2 top spots on 2 weeks in a row, and you don't think she's out of place, so you can't ask any more from her, really.
And I think it's clear that the crowd they want Vaquer's bottom.
Absolutely.
Yes.
But the match itself was back and forth. Ivy Nile, who has done fuck all ever, as far as I'm concerned, ever. She actually looked pretty good in this match, I thought. Back and forth match. Both of them trading holes and near falls. She hits multiple asses in the air, knees on the floor. Moves throughout the match. Gable interferes, placing Niall's foot on the rope to break a pin. Vaquer confronting Gable, leading to outside brawling. After a top rope superplex and a striking exchange, Vaquer hit the SVB and then got a pick up a clean win. Winner, Stephanie Vaquer. Again, 10 out of 10 for the bum. No notes. Everyone, all good with that? Yep, 10 out of 10, no notes. Cool, sweet.
Bottom.
Backstage segment is up next. AJ Styles. Oh, there's so. You know what? I said this again to you yesterday. How many fucking backstage segments were there on SmackDown?
Raw.
Raw, I should say. Yeah, sorry, Raw.
Yeah. Four matches on Raw, awful. But we can talk about that at the end.
Fucking crazy. I might just skip some of this shit. AJ Styles, Nick Aldis, Dominic Mysterio, Liv Morgan, and Raquel Rodriguez. I mean, okay, Liv Morgan's there, so reason to watch. Oh, and Dom, of course. Dominic Mysterio, reason to watch. AJ, Nick. Liv comes up with Dom and Raquel, and Morgan requests time off to go film a movie, which is shoot. She is actually filming a movie. Mysterio also asks time off, but Aldis turns him down. Styles gets in Dominic's face, and they have a little tete-a-tete about how Styles hasn't really done a lot recently, and Dominic's the man. Another backstage segment, Karrion Kross, who has another character wrinkle, which I fucking love. It basically looks like Sami Zayn. He always changes his hair and his style to mirror the person he's going after. When it was AJ, he had dead straight hair and was wearing the long trowel. With Sami, he's like got a full on curly hair and a bit of a crazy beard. Love all that. But they don't really cover a lot, but they do say that Karrion hopes that Sami makes the correct decision. So there you go with that. Thoughts on those two lads? Anything you want to say?
Just that Karrion Kross probably is due a big push. There's lots of lots of TV time, doesn't he? But it doesn't seem to be anything really happening here, and that's what
he's always
I'm concerned. Well, sorry, maybe not a lot of TV time, but he is always on a show, isn't he? And he has some interaction with a wrestler. And nothing seems to come of it. And he clearly is over at the moment.
What would be fantastic is if at the next Saturday night's main event, Jesse Ventura can't make it, so Karrion Kross just Jesse Ventura's the whole night. Does his impression and actually just pretend, a bit like R-Truth, thinks he actually is Jesse Ventura for the whole night, and then right at the end goes nuts and attacks someone. It would be awesome.
He ain't got time to bleed.
He ain't got time to bleed. His impression of Jesse Ventura is awesome.
Agreed.
Yeah, I got a lot of love for Kross. A lot of love for Kross.
Yeah,
the next segment is one that I actually did watch this morning with Mr. McAfee, and when you did say to me about there were a few swear words, we've got a loyal motherfucker right there.
We have a loyal motherfucker.
I thought that was pretty good promo from him.
Yeah, but
he can talk, can't he? Well,
he can talk. I thought it was good, and this is, as we've said, is going to lead to dun 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 dun.
Yeah, well, there's a link. Goldberg used to play football. McAfee used to play football. There's a link to the fact that Goldberg's not going to like the fact that Gunther's bullying people. You want to bully someone, bully me. But yeah, again, a slow build. It'll be SummerSlam
or Saudi.
Very, very interesting, possibly, but I don't think
Goldberg is doing nothing unless there are a lot of zeros on the end of it. It's going to have to be Saudi.
Yeah, but you can get the money from Saudi and spend it somewhere else. It's moving money around, isn't it? That I don't think that's an issue anymore. They're owned by TKO, so money's not a problem. I think. I don't think he'd want to finish his career in Saudi, to be honest. But I don't think he'd want his retirement match there. And it's interesting that today Scott Steiner come out and said that if McAfee needs someone to back him up at Backlash,
Scott Steiner.
he'd be there. So
we did see that. Holler if you hear me.
Yeah, which is appropriate. That happened today on Holler if you can hear me day. So yeah, I think this will build a little bit. So McAfee's the football player, Steiner's the WCW guy. You know, there'll be a few more sort of Goldberg links. Just see how it goes.
So what I initially thought was a poor segment last week on Raw. Didn't understand why Gunther came out and dropped a sleeper hold on McAfee and attacked Cole or whatever. It's turned out to be quite good. I did like the promo that McAfee cut. It makes a bit of sense if Goldberg's going to be interjected at some point. I'm not a big fan of him. However,
No,
it sells, and people do like Goldberg, and they're going to want to watch it, aren't they? So
he deserves a retirement match, and let's face it, he's going to lose. So it's a win-win situation for everyone. People get to see him again, but Gunther will go over.
Big meaty man slapping meat.
Just before we move on, Dave, you do look a little bit like Pete Dunne with your hair at the moment. I haven't seen it out. Bloody hell. Look at that.
Yes, but it's been
tied up. Like Brutus Creed.
Dirty Dave.
Yeah.
You just need to grow the tash.
I know, and I'll dye it all black, yeah.
Yeah, big time. I'll dye my hair blonde.
I've got a tash, I told you that. It's just not under my nose.
Yes, you did say that, actually. Anyway, swiftly moving on.
Swiftly as possible. Right, so next up was another backstage segment, as if it wasn't going to be anything else. Sami Zayn, Jey Uso, and Logan Paul. Nice and quick one though this time. Sami Zayn and his dog, Jey Uso, were talking backstage about what was going to be next up for Sami Zayn, and Uso tells Zayn he loves him and walks away. Well, he doesn't actually. Zayn walks away. Logan Paul sucker punches Jey from behind, saying that's karma, Us, and then that's that. Nice and quick and easy. That one, nice and short and sharp, but did extend the story, so I'm okay with that one. Next up was the in-ring segment from Sami Zayn and Seth Rollins with Bron Breakker and Paul Heyman. Seth calls Sami to the ring for his decision. Rollins makes an emotional plea, recalling their friendship and shared history. Which, again, all of this just feels like another 5 to 10 minutes of them talking through exactly what they did at the start of the fucking show. Either way, Zayn closes out the segment by telling Rollins that basically, I love you, buddy, but go to hell, which is pretty cool, after accusing him of manipulation and all this sort of other shit. Bron's music hits and he heads to the ring with Paul as the show cuts to commercial. Back from commercial, Bron dominates early, throwing Zayn around the ring with power moves. Zayn fights back with a flip powerbomb, tornado DDT, and exploder. Bron hits multiple spears, one after the other, and Rollins pleads with Zayn to take the deal. Zayn still refuses, telling Rollins to go to hell again. Breakker continues the assault, spearing Zayn outside of the ring and ignoring medical staff. The referee eventually stops the match due to Zayn's condition, and no contest is declared. Rollins enters the ring, tells Breakker Zayn made his bed, and then Rollins delivers a nasty little curb stomp to the already laid out Zayn. Show ends with Rollins, Breakker, and Heyman standing tall as officials check on Sami Zayn.
Wow.
Well, the first victim, isn't it? And that's basically all it was supposed to be. You know, set this group up. You know, again, sacrificial lamb is Sami Zayn. It does all right for the group in the end. I didn't think the rest of the show did much for the group overall, but as we spoke about, but yeah, you know, it's Braun in the match, not Seth, the master manipulator style character, which again makes me think, you know, that him and Heyman don't need each other because
they feel the same void.
Yeah. So I'm not sure.
Well, that's yet to be discovered.
Zayn's out for now, and it's the first brick. You know, Rollins has obviously taken out to a degree Punk and Reigns, and now the group, as an official group, have taken out their first guy. So, yeah.
So we were talking about it the other day about what our biggest takeaways or our hot takes coming out of the two shows were. My biggest take out of all of Raw, from the opening segment to the end of the show, they were still cheering Seth Rollins. They were still cheering Seth Rollins. They were still cheering the new group. I know it's a new group and it's a new thing, but these are going to be your number one top heels on Raw, and they're being cheered. Now, I'm not much of a stickler for the old stuff and kayfabe, but at the end of the day, if you're going to be a top heel, you need to be getting booed. You need to be doing stuff that's going to get you booed. Seth Rollins' music is still too over with the crowd. They love singing it. Seth Rollins coming out and doing that shtick at the beginning, still too over, still going to get him cheered. Heyman is still going to get cheered because it's Paul Heyman. So there's nothing they can do there.
This is what I'm saying. This is why the show didn't, like, it just didn't do it for me. There were other ways that they should have been used. And it's really difficult because you can't do everything that Evolution did, or you've got to be, unique or different. But Triple H went from wearing cool denim and leather jackets and being the cool hitman baddie to coming out in a suit, shaving his beard off, changing his hairstyle, almost being obnoxious and pompous to like Hunter Hearst Helmsley style. Rollins isn't going to do that because Rollins loves his current version of himself. But
See, that's he needs to come out suited and booted. I don't think he should be coming out as this stupid fucking
exactly because
wardrobe.
But he won't stop doing that because he loves that too much. And that
is his character.
But it doesn't have to be.
What I was going to say was the fact that you've got Breakker, Rollins, Heyman, and Zayn in 3 or 4 segments and a match on the show.
Yeah,
arguably your most popular people. People want to see what's going to happen, whether you like it or not. People are going to watch it, aren't they? I, for one, don't really care that Seth Rollins has got the same music and has got his fancy wardrobe because I love all that.
Yeah, no,
you're not meant to.
I think he's but I think even as a face, as a heel, I'm still going to love Seth Rollins. I'm not going to boo him, am I?
No, that's fine.
You're not going to boo Bron Breakker because you want to see him destroy people. So unless he's up against a super face like Jey, say for example, Jey Uso, who's the most over face in your opinion at the moment, goes up against Seth or Bron Breakker. Are you gonna boo?
It doesn't matter to that much of a degree. You don't have to be a hated heel. I get that, but you're going to struggle to get them over heel enough to fight people that are over face enough if they are getting cheered, beating people up every week.
NWO.
Yeah, but that's exactly where it went wrong, though, isn't it? It was all right. I think
it went for 2 years.
Yeah, no. But everybody forgets the NWO. Everybody forgets the first 6 to 8 months where Hall, Nash, and Hogan were proper heels. But it only started to come off the rails when they started adding too many people, and it started to get fun and that kind of stuff. But if you actually remember the actual beginning, they were cutting black and white promos. They were coming out and really, really pissing people off, really attacking people. It was really bad, hitting commentators, beating up Larry Zbyszko, but then throwing Rey Mysterio into a lorry head first. Those first 6 months, were completely different Hall, Nash, and Hogan that we'd ever seen. They completely changed their characters. When that got over and it started being fun, they kind of reverted more back again, 100%. But those first 6 months, go back and you can't watch it on the network anymore. I don't know if it's on Netflix, but those Nitros when they went on the WWE network, I was watching and I was going, geez, even I'd forgotten how bad and heely they really were. And before Eric Bischoff as well, when they had DiBiase as their mouthpiece, and Six, especially when Six was there, he was so heel, it's untrue. And then, by the time you got to late 97, summer 97, and we start getting Wolfpacky and everybody starts doing this, and it's all about selling t-shirts.
100%. But context, it's been a week.
Yeah, exactly.
Like,
No, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, so
we are I
think
say
those
you guys are nitpicking at the fact that things could have been better and they can be more heelish, and you've got Seth Rollins still being cheered by the crowd because his music is still over and he's still wearing the same clothes, but you have to give that time to evolve, don't you?
100%. I just, like I said, I don't think it's damaged the group. At no point have I said that it's damaged the group. I don't like Sami Zayn. That's my personal opinion. But what I don't think, I honestly don't think any of those segments helped the group. I don't think they hurt the group.
But surely the majority of the crowd are cheering for Sami Zayn, and seeing him getting beaten the fuck out of is only going to help the group.
They did start booing towards not as much as they should be, but there were more there were more negative responses to the group than they were at the start. That is fair to say, but not universal.
But you're not going to care about someone who hasn't been there for 2 months.
Well, you're not going to care about someone that hasn't been there for 2 months. But so you've got to look at the demographic, surely, haven't you? People that are of the age of, say, 27 and up are going to see through that and go, well, Sami Zayn hasn't been there for 2 months. He's pretty irrelevant anyway. You know that if he has a title match, he's going to lose. Whereas anyone perhaps under the age of 18 loves Sami Zayn, and they're going to be like, and it's still a family show. That's what Triple H and the rest of the hierarchy project the WWE as, a family thing where you can bring your kids and it's all fun and games and you've got heels and faces. Sami is definitely a face and he's a good guy and everyone feels for him. If he's laying on the floor at the end of the show, they've done their job, right?
If everybody was booing when the credits came up, then yeah.
So I'm looking at these notes we've taken. Okay. What I will say is regarding the Sami Zayn situation and why Sami. There's a real dearth, which means a lack of any faces on Raw. You got Jey, you got the Viking Raiders, who no one cares about. You've got Sami.
You got Punk,
who's off TV. Roman, who's off TV. Penta doesn't belong near this feud. AJ Styles doesn't belong anywhere near this feud. Who else have you got? Raw is really, really short on faces. So I think
because Punk and Rollins will come back. They're going to come back shortly, aren't they?
Punk and Reigns will do, but Reigns is a SmackDown wrestler where he goes where he wants. But Punk is a Raw wrestler, yes, but they've got to keep Punk off TV to give it that payback, the payoff down the line. So right now, who have they got? Raw is really lacking in top faces or even mid faces, upper mid card faces. They haven't really got any.
But isn't the draft coming up in a couple of
that will be the telling nature of it, is how many people they can move from one place to the other and build some real good faces going forward for this group to just beat the snot out of. But yeah, so
you need a WWE 2K25
GM mode
shake-up.
Sheamus will be the next guy that they.
Oh yeah, Sheamus definitely. Yeah.
You heard it here
Possibly.
first. He'll come out.
Heard it here first. Right, gentlemen. Do you want to go through Dave Meltzer's star ratings?
Go on quickly. We'll be quick.
Okay, let me try and work out how to
just remember that
this.
I'm right, and then this can be really quick.
So if everyone stays perfectly still, we can edit this out of the stream. So this is for both nights, yeah?
I think
so this is for both nights.
Talk about it. 3.75 for Gunther and Jey Uso. What do we think about that then, boys?
That's bullshit.
I told you on the night. I thought it was a 3-star.
Yeah, I can't see how he got any more than that, to be honest, and mainly because the crowd killed it. But also, I don't. As we've said about Gunther, I don't think it really told the best story for those two.
And it was a non-finished.
Yeah. It's
but losing to his own move.
It certainly hasn't hurt Jey. So yeah, but I wouldn't give it more than 3. The next one, and I'm sorry to sort of take over on this, Fraz, but I'm just a bit passionate about these star ratings. Sweet Jesus, how has this got anything over 1 star? Did I miss something in that match?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it's that is pretty high. I wouldn't give it a 1 star. I'd probably say a 2 star at most. 1.5.
Well, if you're giving, I would say it was probably better than Mango. Well, no, I wouldn't even say it was better than Mango versus Naomi. I'd say
No.
Mango and Naomi was a better match.
Well, yeah, it was definitely a better match.
I mean, I cannot see how that tag match isn't the worst match on night 1. Well, I mean, it was. So I don't know how
It was.
the match. I mean, it was the worst match at WrestleMania over the 2 nights. But Mango,
that's a liberty, by the way. Phoenix and Grande Americano only getting 2 3/4 is a fucking joke.
Well, he's just done
a good match.
It was a last-minute replacement, wasn't it? But I mean, it's a cold match, but they didn't do anything wrong. El Grande Americano, his character's fantastic. The entrance was great. All the effort and everything that they put into that. Again, I can't see that being anything lower than a 3 star.
Agreed. LA Knight, Jacob Fatu, 3.75 stars.
Yeah, spot on.
That's spot on. All right. I think that's fair.
Well, it's there or thereabouts. LA Knight was in the match, so it loses a star automatically for me. But,
well, I mean, this next one I just don't get. I don't get this at all because although it wasn't but I don't think it was 1.75.
It wasn't 1.75, but it wasn't any higher than 2.5. There were so many bodged spots in that match, and that was
minus 5 stars.
No, not at all. Charlotte, obviously, still. I thought she was still a bit of ring rust there, and Tiffy is just green.
Well, they just didn't gel. They just didn't gel. I mean,
they didn't gel, did they? Yeah.
I don't know. I haven't checked the house show circuit, so I don't know how much they wrestled on the house show in the build up to the match. But yeah,
Charlotte should wrestle house shows.
That just didn't work. Well, in the build up to Mania, you need to have that is your rehearsal ground. I mean, the WrestleMania 10 ladder match. Diesel Kevin Nash will tell you that you think the one you saw at WrestleMania 10 was good. It was the ones they were practicing on the house shows that were the ones that were stealing the show. So you've got to do it. If you're not going to do it, and Tiffany's not strong enough to go out at WrestleMania cold. Bless her. I'm not saying I don't like her, but yeah, that's a match that needed a lot of homework, and clearly they didn't do it. But I still don't think it's the worst match on the night. It's still better than the New Day's tag match.
I agree with you there, but I just can't give New Day minus 6 stars. So,
Reigns, Punk, Seth. Yeah, well, that's accurate. It's there or thereabouts. I love the fact that there were a shitload of finishes in there. And the end, I don't know what he bases these ratings on in terms of if with Heyman getting involved and the actual heel turn, it was incredible. We were all like, yes, this is finally happening. But 4.75 seems a bit high, but.
As a rule, Meltzer will tend to give marks off for gratuitous interference. So Heyman being involved as much as he was would have earned that less of a 1/4 star.
Yeah, I reckon if Heyman had slid the chair through Reigns and Punk to Rollins, and then just do a few funny looks, and then Rollins smashes them both with a chair and then wins the match with a curb stomp, he'd have given that 5 stars.
That would have been 5.
Yeah.
The Lakers in 5.
But I do agree with this match because this is why she was put into this match. Io Sky, not only did she save that match, but it's the highest rated star match of the weekend. And I mean, say what you want, she's now completely over. Smashed it at WrestleMania, smashed it on Raw last week, smashed it on Raw this week. Yeah, fantastic match. Got Io Sky more over than she's ever been. Showed Bianca Belair to be as tough as Rhea Ripley. Didn't do any harm to Rhea Ripley either. Win-win-win situation for all 3 women. Yeah, awesome match. Much better than anyone expected. And a much better start overall to night 2
Well, and the crowd were definitely feeling.
Yeah,
much better on night two.
And clearly, the person who wrote this on the website likes Io Sky because she's in all caps.
I think she's actually stylized like that in her roster page.
I just like her.
I think so.
So yeah, we can just do that.
Drew and Damian Priest. Yeah, I like. I mean, I'm not going to disagree with the 4.25. I actually thought that was a quality match, especially the finish. It was good. Maybe 3.75 if you're being picky, but
I think 4.25 is fair.
Taker done well there.
I thought the chair shot finish at the end. I thought the table spot was a bit weak, just pushing him backwards. But I mean, hell, I wouldn't take it, so I'm not taking anything away from it. But I think out of everything that they did, the falling off just gently being pushed off the top rope through the tables was a bit weak. He maybe could have done.
Yeah, but he raised his edge through one as well, didn't he?
Yeah, but the ones to the outside though, you've got, if you're setting tables up on the outside, you've got to do something, I think, a bit better than just a very lackluster push. But the chair shot against the ring post
was sick.
The kick was fantastic because the sound made that as well. But yeah, that was brilliant. Great match. Thought they both did really well, but loved Drew McIntyre and a proper WrestleMania win for him, which was good.
Mm-hmm.
Next one should have been 5 stars. From Dom coming out, not getting his mask off correctly, to him running back in the ring and celebrating the victory. It's 5 stars in itself. The guy's quality, Penta's quality, Breaker's quality, Balor's quality, quality written all over that match.
Traditionally, really hard to tell a story when you're putting more than 3 or 4. When you put 3 or 4 people in a match versus a one-on-one match, it can convolute the story. But the basic thing here was Bron Breakker didn't look bad at all. Love the fact he came out in a modified Scott Steiner / Macho Man Randy Savage outfit from WrestleMania 7. Penta's first WrestleMania, he didn't look bad for losing. Finn Balor, he's established, he's not going to look bad for losing. Dom wins, fantastic win. Again, just like the women's triple threat match, every one of them came out better. Didn't matter. I won't say it didn't matter who won or lost. It did. Dom needed to win. But the great thing about it is him winning didn't hurt anyone else. Everybody comes out of that match looking better, which is another reason why the star rating deserves to be that high, or could even be higher.
I said to you at the time, both of you, I said that Finn Balor was in this match for one reason only. He was the one that probably produced that match, booked that match.
It'll be the general.
He'd probably in the ring. He would have been the one that called that match in the ring, told everyone where to go, when to go, because he's come out to the last few years of his time in the company, and his time in wrestling is coming to an end. He's a hand. He's an excellent hand who can book anyone. That's why he was in the match.
He's the safe hand he's the glue that kept everything together 100%. I mean, whether he produced the whole thing or not, I don't know. But I mean, he would definitely have been the general directing traffic in that match and keeping everybody on point. And I'm sure he was. And if he was, fantastic job, because that was.
You could see how happy he was for Dom. Because there's a clip, isn't there, online with him smiling when Dom gets the win and is lifting the title. AJ and Logan Paul, 3.5 stars.
This is overrated. I thought this match was a lot worse than this, but
2.5.
Tough match to follow.
2, yeah.
Or tough.
When we watched that live, those first 3 matches, we were just like, oh my god, this could be the best.
Yeah.
WrestleMania night ever. But Logan Paul was pretty athletic as usual, and AJ Styles is AJ Styles. So 2.5 stars, probably but not 3.5.
I think I expected a 3.5 out of AJ Styles and Logan Paul. I didn't get a 3.5 star match out of it.
Yeah,
Dave obviously felt like he did. I don't think that was a 3.5 star. I expected a minimum. I expected a 3.5 star match out of AJ Styles, no matter who he's fighting. He could fight a broom, and it'd be a 3.5 star match.
Yeah, I agree with that.
Randy and Joe Hendry not rated.
Yeah,
because it was not announced.
It's not announced. I suppose it wasn't really a match, was it?
To be fair, neither was Becky and Lyra. So
yeah, that's a bit of a weird one. But I suppose, look, at the end of the day, it was more about having a bit of fun than a match, and that's what it did. I mean, I think we spoke about it before. What do you do? Do you have Aleister Black or Rusev come out and lose to Randy Orton on their return, or do you have them come out and damage Randy Orton before his Backlash match with John Cena? The bottom line is, whatever was going to happen is Orton was going to win, and Orton needed to look good. And they done it in a fun way that didn't really hurt anyone. I don't believe all the crap where they say, "Oh, he's buried the TNA champion" and all this. You know, the TNA World Champions just wrestled in front of 65,000 people. You know, on the biggest WrestleMania of all time. That that more people have watched the TNA World Champion than ever before in the history of TNA World Champions. So, it's a load. It's a clock. It was great.
He got the rub of Randy Orton when it came quite literally. He got Randy Orton to do his pose and pat him on the tummy.
There's different
he
ways
patted him to say, welcome in.
Yeah, being put over doesn't mean you have to win. There's other ways of doing it, and that was perfect. So, you can't rate it. I get that, but great little segment.
Yeah, say his name and he's got diarrhea. I believe in Joe Henry. Becky and Lyra, 2 stars. At this point, I think we were all just getting excited for Cody and John.
Maybe that's why it's been so controversially received, because we'd had the high from Randy and Joe. Then to the Becky, and everyone was going to take this as a toilet break match, because so many people do. Before the main event, everyone goes for a wee or goes to concession and gets some merch. I mean, it's what they do. So Becky and Lyra coming out. Becky got a big pop. Liv obviously can do no wrong. Raquel has a big back, so whatever. But I think 2 would probably be a bit harsh. I think it deserved maybe a 2.5, but no more than that.
I don't think so. I think it was.
You hate Becky, so it's a different.
Yeah, but it's not only that. I mean, it was a bad match. I wouldn't give it more than 2.5. Definitely not.
Maybe I need to go back and watch it again. But all I can remember is Liv in that red one piece. So
yeah. I mean, yeah. But I'm not questioning that at all. That was phenomenal.
Awesome.
Tremendous. But And
then 1.75 for Cody and John.
Again, I think that's because everyone was so on a high from Randy and Joe that match ruining wrestling, nobody saw it coming. Nobody saw axe handle coming, and it's just like, who gives a fuck? Travis Scott coming out with a $2,000 hardcore title that no one's ever going to buy.
No. I don't buy that shit at all. You're saying who gives a fuck? You did give a fuck. You just disappointed in the way the match turned out. There was no Rock. There was no offense from Cody. There are a lot of heelish moves from Cena. It's all down to narrative of each individual fan. I thought when we watched it, we were all disappointed. In hindsight, which is a wonderful thing, Cena fought the perfect fight in terms of the character that he is trying to develop, which he is trying to ruin wrestling and be a classic heel. And what better way to do that than not do anything?
Well, and it's proven he's got the worst rating of WrestleMania. So he has ruined wrestling for WrestleMania because he got the lowest star rating, but he won the match. So he's proven that he can do it. The whole point of this is the crowd have always chanted, "We can't wrestle" and all that kind of stuff at him. So he's not.
I'm not going to wrestle. I'm going to still win, but I'm not going to wrestle. Yeah.
Exactly. So,
are you still buying into the fact that he wasn't insured for this match?
Less and less, mate. Less and less. Everything I read prior to this suggested to me that he hadn't been insured because he is still filming Peacemaker. He's supposed to be filming Peacemaker season 2 or 3 or something. So there was a chance, but I think that's less likely.
So he's cleared to wrestle in a 30-man Royal Rumble and an Elimination Chamber match, but he's not cleared to wrestle Cody Rhodes.
Depends on when the filming schedule is, though, don't it?
Yeah, well, you wouldn't commit to stuff, would you? You wouldn't commit. No, that's not it. That's not it at all.
Well, the biggest takeaway for me is how much what's the word? Reflection. No, that's not it. Basically, how the Rock's come out afterwards and basically said, don't boo it because it didn't happen. Be upset that it shouldn't have happened or some shit. He's basically trying to revise history, and it's just like, mate, you're just making it so much worse.
He just threw everyone under the bus. It was
and John and everyone.
Yeah, it was just piss poor planning on his part. You know, why come out and sell this dream to everyone that Cody's going to sell his soul, and they've been building to this from last year, haven't they?
Yeah, not even that. The night after WrestleMania last year, where him and Cody, Cody gave him a wop or something, put something
sucking each other off. Yeah,
right. Rock wanted to come back this year, fight Cody, but he wanted to be a goodie. He thought Cody would the fans would turn against Cody, and that they could do this. Probably the People's Champion, The Rock, versus Cody Rhodes, who thinks he's the People's Champion, but he's lost the people. It didn't work. Everybody still loved Cody, and it wasn't ready. It was too early. And Rock's like, okay, well, fine. And let's face it, Rock's got no one else to fight. He's got nothing else to do. So why does he need to be at Mania? Why did he need to get involved in the John Cena? I don't think he needed to get involved, but he could have to extend the Cody Rhodes feud to maybe next year. But the fact that and that could still happen. Loads of stuff could still happen, but. Yeah, he's just sulked. He sulked at the end of the day. He only came out at Elimination Chamber. He reckons to do a favour for everyone, maybe. But he's just.
Well, so I read that the top brass basically said, "Can you make an appearance at Elimination Chamber to sell tickets and to get people to watch this?" But then don't turn around and give an ultimatum and say, "Well, if you sell your soul to me, I'm going to give you everything you want." And then Cena turns and he gives Cena that opportoronity and then doesn't come out and help Cena do that. It just doesn't make sense.
No, and I don't buy that narrative anyway, because Toronto, I was surprised watching Elimination Chamber that the crowd was quite small. I mean, don't get me wrong, I think it's still the biggest crowd to watch an Elimination Chamber apart from maybe the one in Australia. But it's Toronto. They got 55,000 people for Monday Night Raw when Raw was in Toronto. Toronto is a hotbed. The only reason they wouldn't have sold tickets for Elimination Chamber in the Sky Dome is if the tickets were too expensive. And we know WWE is far too expensive at the moment. And you're talking about a PLE in February, in between Christmas and Easter and stuff like that. Elimination Chamber is always a tough one. It used to be No Way Out. It was always a mixed pay-per-view. Sometimes it'd be really good, sometimes it wouldn't. There'd always be in smaller arenas because of that time of the year. They do it in October. October tends to be down. They tend to go to a smaller arena. That's the problem with Toronto, was the tickets were too expensive. Sticking The Rock on there isn't going to make people rush out and spend 250 quid on a ticket. It's just not.
No, it's not. But it doesn't take away the fact that everyone was excited to see The Rock at WrestleMania.
That's the point. And then we didn't get it. Yeah, exactly. So he should not have been at Chamber.
He shouldn't have ejected himself into the situation.
Yeah, I don't think he needs to be at every. I mean, the problem is you can't. What are you going to do? This is what the Brock Lesnar thing fell into, that Brock has to be in the main event every year at WrestleMania. Are we going to say now every year that The Rock's going to get involved in WrestleMania? And then where do we draw the line with that? WrestleMania 40 was WrestleMania 40. It was the 40th WrestleMania. It's one of the four biggest, if you want to look at it as the milestone manias. 1, 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. There you go. Of course, you've got to do something absolutely incredible at WrestleMania 40. And no, you're never really going to ever be able to top that. So you can't try.
No, you're not, and that's exactly my point. Was to anyone that I spoke to about WrestleMania this year is you cannot expect that it's going to be as good as last year. The expectation was just far too high.
Yeah,
but you did think it was. If you looked at the both sets of cards, the main event of night one was incredible, but the undercard was poor. The rest of the matches on night two were great. The main event was poor.
Which
Becky
plays
and
the story that we now know, but didn't at the time, i.e., ruining wrestling. You know, we didn't quite know what John meant by that because he hadn't wrestled. He hadn't wrestled since he'd been a heel. Now he has. So now we know what to expect. And yeah, like you say, hindsight's a beautiful thing. You look back at it and you go, that 1.75 star, really, Cena's sitting at home going, that's my 5-star match because that's exactly what I wanted. That's exactly what I went out to do. I went out to get the worst performance, ruin wrestling, but still win. You know, so he's winning. He is winning with his character at the moment, 100%.
Yeah.
Lovely. Okay, gentlemen,
Win.
I think we'll call it there. Thank you for anyone that's joined us on this 2 hours and 9 minutes of our first show. How do you think it went, boys?
You talk
I'm
too
loving
much.
it.
Yeah. I think I talk far too much about bottoms and women's wrestling because I love it so much.
Yeah.
No, thanks everyone. Please subscribe, like, share, do all that shit. We'll be back next week. Yeah, a lot of love.
Bye.